Hi everyone and welcome to Inderes TV. Mendus reported their numbers for the first quarter of 2025 today, and with me to talk about the report and overall highlights during the quarter, I have the CEO of the company, Erik Manting. Welcome, Erik.
Thanks, Jesper. Good to see you.
I was thinking that we can start off this interview with just talking briefly about Mendus. Why are you needed on the market?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and maybe it's good we start there because the immuno-oncology landscape has changed quite dramatically in the last couple of years. I think we were well prepared for it, also because we worked with some of the pioneers in the field. Somebody called Andrea van Elzas, who was in our board until beginning of 24. And yeah, what has happened is in the solid tumors, so not the blood-borne tumors where we are, but basically all of the other solid tumors, there is a kind of drug that works very well, which is called checkpoint inhibitors. They basically can be used to treat different tumor types, so across different tumor types. And what you see is a striking picture is that a portion of patients respond, a large portion of patients don't respond, but the patients that respond have a chance of long-term survival because your own immune system starts to fight the cancer cells, basically. And that's the best mechanism for long-term survival in the end in different solid tumors. For reasons that we can only guess, those checkpoint inhibitors do not work in blood-borne tumors. And that is why we took an active decision some years ago, actually already, to position ourselves in that setting. And that is also why I think we are relevant today, Jesper, because the most advanced data we have currently are in a blood-borne tumor called acute myeloid leukemia. There's a very high unmet medical need to provide longer-term solutions for patients after they have undergone chemotherapy. And if you don't provide those solutions, the relapse rate, so the rate with which patients develop a new disease, is so high that that is basically the reason why most patients don't have long-term survival in AML. So the long-term survival in AML has been quite stable, around 30%, which is disappointing, of course. And also it mostly relates to what is called hematopoietic stem cell or bone marrow transplants, where your own immune system is completely replaced by somebody else's immune system through a transplant procedure. That's a very harsh procedure. It's not available for the majority of AML patients. And it's also the only potentially curative approach. Also, the long-term survival is mostly related to these transplants. So to come up with an immunotherapy that would help patients to have improved long-term survival was for us a very attractive opportunity. And that's now also where we have the most advanced data. So we have proof of concept data from a phase 2 trial, which we call the Advanced 2 trial, in acute myeloid leukemia. And that's where we really start to see in a significant amount of patients, in our case 14 out of 20 patients, long-term survival. And the last readout we reported end of last year was at almost 42 months median follow-up. And then 13 patients were still alive and 11 patients were still in first complete remission. So that is the reason why we are now fully focused on that set of data. We have a broader pipeline, which we can go in later, but the most important conclusion on where we are today is that we have this phase 2 data combined with also the immunomonitoring data showing that our product stimulates the immune system and is delivering the clinical benefit we are looking for. Yeah. So that's why we are today fully focused on realizing that potential.
Yeah. Like I mentioned before, you released your Q1 report today. How are you overall feeling about that? Are you happy where you are at the moment?
Yeah, I think we're extremely happy, and there's multiple reasons for that, Jesper. One is the progress we are making towards phase 3 readiness is also supported by feedback we got end of last year from FDA and EMA as the main regulatory agencies. It means we keep constant finger on the pulse with them to make sure that the steps we take are in line with their expectations, and the other way around. If we would deliver a phase 3 trial that we are currently planning for, it would also be suitable for registration of the product, so for market registration of the product. So that was an important step. The other important element is the large-scale production, which we are doing here in Sweden together with a company called Northex. What we are also very happy with is the endorsement of the clinical community of the product. So not only for, let's say, the acute myeloid leukemia patient population we are currently treating, but also for the broader AML setting and even additional indications like chronic myeloid leukemia, for example. This is a solution that the clinical community has been looking for. So it also allows us to consider a broadening of the patient population. To support that, we have performed a very extensive market analysis last year, actually, and that's also driving, together with the clinical scientific rationale, the choices that we make in which trials we think are most valuable next to the preparations for the phase 3 trial. So that's all on track. At a certain point, you have to find the clinical leadership that is allowing you to make all the right choices moving forward with this strategy. And we are very proud and excited to announce that Tariq Mughal joined us yesterday as Chief Medical Officer.
Yeah. Can you elaborate a little bit why now, and what can he bring to your overall business?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, we're very thankful to Jeroen Rovers, who was our Chief Medical Officer until yesterday, because he's been working with me very closely on progressing the program and for the past couple of years. But with Tariq, it's really a step up in terms of international network, international expertise, also a big pharma expertise and expertise to take products all the way from early clinical development to late stage clinical development and market registration, market needs. So that is really the reason why we are first of all very happy that Tariq is joining us. He joined us basically because he's also fascinated by the phase 2 data that we have and the broader potential of the Vividencel product, but also not only to support the phase 3 trial with network, with making sure that we work with the right centers, etc., but also to make the right choices in the broader pipeline strategy as part of our overall late stage strategy. I think that will really be supported by a person like Tariq, and he will take things on from here forward.
Yeah, you touched upon this earlier, but what type of results do you need from the Cadence phase 2 trial to progress with your phase 3 trial?
Yeah, it's a good question because we get that question more often. Factually, there is no relationship between the two. Okay. So the phase 3 preparations are based on the phase 2 data, the proof of concept data that we have secured in the Advanced 2 trial. So that's the trial I just alluded to, and which we have presented multiple times at the ASH conference. So we base our plans on those data. The benefit of the Cadence trial is twofold. First of all, during the Advanced 2 trial, which is a single agent trial, so it's a monotherapy trial, a new drug called oral azacitidine or Onureg became approved for this specific group of patients. So going forward, it means that it's logical to combine with oral azacitidine, and that's also the basis for the phase 3 trial. Now we have a broader strategy. As I mentioned, we want to expand the applicability of the drug, and the Cadence trial does a couple of things. First of all, we work with one of the best people in the field, Professor Andrew Wei, out of Melbourne, Australia. Secondly, the trial is the first real combination between Vividencel as a product and oral azacitidine. We have done preclinical work in our phase 1. We had some patients that were treated with both azacitidine and our product, but now we really have a direct combination of azacitidine with Vividencel. So we will learn from that experience, and also the safety data from the Cadence trial can be used for our broader registration dossier for Vividencel. But it's not so that the start of the phase 3 or the phase 3 preparations are dependent on the Cadence trial. So the Cadence trial will deliver additional data.
Okay. Like you mentioned yourself, you need a large-scale production of Vividencel for phase 3 readiness. What do you still need to do in terms of that Vividencel manufacturing part?
Yeah, it's one of these things that happens behind the scenes, but it's a lot of hard work, and we took this process in different steps. The first step was we knew that if we want this product to be commercially successful, we would have to have a manufacturing process that is scalable and that's commercially attractive. So that was the first part. We took care of that until late 2023. Then the second step is that you want to make sure that that process is considered comparable to the process we used for the production until today, including the product we used for the phase 2 trial, for example. So you need a comparability protocol, and you need to validate that comparability protocol with the regulators. So that's also an important step, also as part of the interactions we had end of last year with the regulators. So it means we know now what to do to move from small-scale production to large-scale production. And then the last phase is the actual implementation of GMP production. And for that, you need a facility which is GMP certified. This is why we teamed up with Northex as a company here in Sweden. They are a certified manufacturer. But also you need to make sure that your facility is there. So we built it, I've completed it together with Northex early 24. So it's a dedicated facility for our product. And then you have to go through what's called a tech transfer process. And it means that you have to transfer your process from the non-GMP setting in our labs in Leiden, where we have our research and CMC facilities, to the GMP facility in Matfors. And that's quite an extensive process. So you need to do repeated runs. You need to make sure that the runs are performed consistently and that the team in Matfors knows what to do in the end to reach GMP production, which is also comes with a lot of administrative work, and you have to implement the potency and release assays, which allow you to release your product for clinical use. So there's a lot of both physical and administrative work around establishing GMP production. And that is all ongoing now with the plan to have that ready in the second half of this year.
You mentioned in the report you have no revenue at this point, so it's the cost that's focusing on the eye of the investors, and your current cash runway is till early 2026. You mentioned it in the Q1 report. What are your plans for future funding, including the phase 3 AML trial?
Well, we always keep all options open. I think first and foremost, the financing we raised in 23 and early 24 allows us to step up and make sure this program is phase 3 ready. Yeah. And that is part of the responsibility we believe we have to take as a company. It's our product. We have to make sure it's up to standards that will allow us also to be in a position to move the product towards market registration, but also as a potential attractive partner for the pharmaceutical industry. Of course, we have to find a solution between now and early next year, either in the form of a financing or a pharma partnership or a combination of both, to make sure we can engage in the phase 3 and move forward. And also to make sure that we have an attractive path with respect to the additional trials that we can do to broaden the addressable patient population. Now, that's also why it's so important that we appointed Tarek yesterday as chief medical, so he can help us with that exercise. But he's also a good sparring partner for academic and industry network that we are currently already facilitating, but of course also want to build out. And I can't say much more, obviously, how things will come together, because I actually don't know. And if I would know, I would not be allowed to tell you. But yeah, as you can imagine, we are working very hard to, on the one hand, make all the operational progress, to make sure we have a robust proposition, and at the same time, of course, considering all options to support the way forward.
To conclude this interview here today, what do you think investors should especially look out for the coming month, rest of 2025?
Well, I think the phase 3 readiness is really the heavy lifting and also the most important milestone to achieve this year. At the same time, we're also very happy with the ongoing clinical activities, which are now beyond the Advanced 2 trial. We've provided multiple updates of the Advanced 2 trial. They've consistently been positive. So the fact that we have now the Cadence trial recruiting and it's an open label trial, so that will also start to deliver initial data, I think is also an important driver for the program. And lastly, we have the deeper pipeline. We have a very interesting ovarian cancer program with the University Medical Center of Groningen. I'm always careful in making forward-looking statements with respect to clinical outcomes, right? Because you never know what will the outcome be. But the first signs look good. So we have established safety. We have established the induction of tumor-directed immune responses after patients were treated with our product, and also the majority of patients with good immune responses is in the non-progressor group at week 22. So end of this year, we also expect to have 2-year follow-up data of all the patients treated in the ovarian cancer trial. Plus, as we disclosed in the first quarter of this year, under the surface, we have also been working with the UMCG, so the University Medical Center in Groningen, to see what else we can pick up in this ovarian cancer setting, including the possibility to expand tumor-infiltrating lymphocytes with our technology platform. So also that whole program is shaping up and actually starting to deliver quite nicely. So I think those are the main milestones for as far as I can predict them today, Jesper.
Understand. Thank you, Erik, for joining me. If you want to know more about Mendus, go check it out, their Q1 presentation on their homepage or inderes.se. But thank you, Erik.
Thanks so much.